Hey guys, before we start, a quick shout out to Alpha Dog Nutrition for sponsoring this podcast. Alpha Dog products are now available at dusupply.com, and you can use code ALPHADOG15 at checkout for 15% off and a credit for free shipping to try it yourself. Now let's get you to your podcast.
SHOT Show is alive and well.
Yeah, I hope y'all are having fun there.
The SHOT Show. I'm not doing the SHOT Show this year. The one part I do miss about the SHOT Show is the supplier showcase. And that is probably the most boring part for most people.
Right.
I went and it was like all the building things, the machinists and the parts and the little buckles and all sorts of little things that you just don't see, behind the scenes stuff on how to build something. And so walking through that, my mind is always like, I wonder how we can change this or do this or whatever. And so if I was to go, that was going to be it. But I didn't. And this year, there's actually two product announcements at SHOT for Garmin. And one of them is the Alpha XL, which is what this podcast is going to be about. The other product that's getting announced is the 200 plus, Alpha 200 plus. And it will have, and I haven't had one to mess with or anything, but as I understand it, and so we're going to move off of this Alpha 200 plus topic, but it'll basically have all the functions of an Alpha 300. So the group sharing, the battery life, all those new functions with a 300, backing up and restoring probably. And assuming,
okay.
You know what I mean? All the functions, the meats, the computer, the parts of that is going to be a 300 with a 200 screen and a USB-C, which is my biggest complaint about the Alpha 200 was that charging port. And so it's going to go to a USB-C charger, which is a lot better. So
that makes more sense.
So don't quote me on the prices, but it should be a two. There's not going to be a 200i plus. It's just a 200 plus. And then I don't know when. I don't really know the roadmap or anything like that with when we see discontinued 200i's, 200s. I don't know when those will be discontinued from Garmin. I imagine we'll get some for a while. That kind of is like. I always focus on the leading edge of the products. You know what I mean? The new stuff, the important for me and our customers, we're normally on this stuff. And then there's the budget line, if you would, you know what I mean? And so this is the stuff that they're moving and I don't know what that's going to look like, prices, all that kind of stuff. It should be the same as a 200, but anyways, we'll know more on there. If you're interested in that 200 plus, get on our website. We'll have the products available. Basically consider it, as I've been explained, it's basically a 300 with a 200 screen and a USB-C charging port. And essentially, if you think of that like that, where they just slapped a 200 screen on a 300, that's going to be a Garmin Alpha 200 plus. So it's a little duller screen. It doesn't have the brighter colors that a 300 has. And the 300 is not super bright, but and I think, you'll see some battery.
The charge port's worth it.
The charge port, yeah.
And it saves you buying the extra charger.
So with that said, let's talk about the Alpha XL, which I'm excited about this product. This is one of the products that I've been waiting for a long time. Like a long, long time. Like
ever.
Alpha 100 days, whenever they came out with a Drive Track 70. And, it was quickly spun the next year to the Drive Track 71, so they went with the 70 and then they came out with the 71 almost immediately. And that was a learning curve for Garmin. But back then, I knew back then I wanted a standalone dedicated unit.
Absolutely.
For the Drive Track at the time. And, basically I wanted my antenna to connect up to the device. I wanted to track the dogs from the device without any other peripherals, and
control the dogs.
Track.
That was
train,
the big one for me.
Everything, and so this is finally that product that I feel like I've been waiting for me, for a truck unit. I'll be honest, I stopped. I don't even have a Drive Track 71 on my truck anymore. I got kind of frustrated and tired with the pairing of the Alpha, and it would not pair all the time, and you had to do this little dance, and I just kind of fell out of love with the Drive Track for those reasons, that it was always a pain in the butt to get it to link up and work good. And so one day it came off my windshield. It was in the back seat, and I never put it back on. I never put it up. I think once in a while when I'd drive somewhere or something, if I had to go travel, I would put it back in the windshield, but not to hunt. I tried one of the Alpha or the Tread XLs.
Yeah.
You know, when they first came out, and
well, you tried it, and then I tried it, and neither one of us ended up holding on to it.
Yeah, neither one of us kept it. It was, you know, and my issues with the Tread XL were, number one, it was really expensive.
Yeah.
I was a little gun shy with the connection, you know, the thing. There was some issues early on, and I'll be honest, man, I didn't like that huge screen in my windshield. And I still don't like, even with this Alpha XL, I don't like the screen in my windshield. We'll talk a little bit about that. But it wasn't a device that I felt like I was going to love enough to work around the implications of the screen. I was like, you know what? I don't need this big screen on my windshield. It was nice, you know what I mean? It was big, but I never used it enough to and I kind of just stuck to my guns that I'm like, dude, I want the dedicated device.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I never felt comfortable pushing the Tread XL because I always felt like Garmin would eventually get it right and come out with a standalone unit. And I didn't want to be selling Tread XLs.
Right.
2 weeks ago on sale. You know what I mean? So they were on sale and, you know, selling.
We did not advertise that sale.
No, because I was like, and I didn't advertise Tread XLs hardly at all because I always felt like you had to really want that to do it, because I didn't want to sell you on it, because I didn't want to be in this position that we are now where it's like, man, you sold me on this Tread XL and now there's the Alpha XL. And I'm like, man, this is the one I've been waiting for. So I've been holding out. I've been practicing what I preach. I never got the Tread XL because I was like, man, I just felt like one day we were going to see this little child come out of Garmin.
Well, you weren't going to be the stepchild someday because it's always a nav unit that's adapted to, you know, communicate with the dog tracker, where this thing is like, this is a dog tracker.
Yeah.
That's its primary focus with some awesome features.
Yep. So I never wanted to sell the peripheral and be like, hey, it should work up and link and you got to do this. And I will say there's guys who absolutely love it, man. They got that Tread XL and the feedback on it was good.
Yeah.
And they're happy with it. And so that, you know, like I said, who am I to judge or anything? I just never wanted to be the guy that sold that. I never wanted to be the guy that talked people into that.
Right.
And then
we're
January 21st, I'll be like, you know, just kidding, psych.
Yeah, right.
Psych. Now
and it'll save you some money, by the way. It's exactly what you really wanted, and it's less expensive.
As a business owner, I should just shut up and
you
take
should,
the money.
But that's why people buy from us.
Just like, you know what, just $1,500 last 2 weeks ago, and you know what, for $1,200, I can get you into a better unit right now. Anyway, so that's a little bit of history on it. That's where it came from. What we have announced today is the Alpha XL. It is a 10-inch, fully dedicated dog tracking device that goes in your pickup, like 100%.
It's awesome.
I'm always getting cautious about new products because I feel like something always comes and bites us in the ass.
Well, you get on the train and it's like, yeah, this is the best thing out there. And then insert new product and it's like, yeah, at the time it was great, but now we got something different. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Look at how short-lived 200s were.
Yeah. No, there's been some times where like I've seen that we've missed the boat on things. So in my head, I'm like, what do we miss? What do we miss? What do we miss? You know what I mean? It's been pretty robust. I've been hunting and tracking dogs with it, and there's a couple key points I want to talk about for people to get them that I've learned at least. But we're just going to start with what it is. I mean, it's a high resolution 10-inch touchscreen display. You can have it lengthwise, almost landscape or portrait, so it can go, like a widescreen, for watching a tablet if you like
you would look at your drive track,
or you can look at it like a phone where it's upright, you know what I mean? And so it'll rotate and show that. I found situations in my trucks that I actually prefer the vertical layout.
Yeah. Just because of the size, especially like in a full size truck, it's not as big a deal. And I rode dogs, but I found a way to get it positioned to where it's not interfering with my vision.
Yeah.
But on a small truck, like your Ranger, I would imagine you want that thing vertical.
It's not bad horizontal in my Ranger. Most of the time, because my Ranger is more of a dedicated truck, but on my Super Duty, I have it down by the center console.
Oh,
and that's where I like it up and down. It just fits better. So I was just surprised. That's how I found out, as I was like messing around with it, and I flipped it, and I was like, oh shit, the screen flipped. So my device is not connected. So anyway, so it's basically an alpha. There it goes. It just connected. So we're sitting here in the podcast studio. I got my truck outside the door, and I got a collar on. So like I was just going to show that you can track. The cool thing about this is you add all your dogs into the device directly. So it's just like an Alpha 300 or 200. I might have to turn the volume down on this so it's going to keep beeping at us. You can add the groups of dogs. You can add handhelds. You can track, just like you can a 300. Just think of it like a 300. It's got all those settings. Share wirelessly from my 300 to the Alpha XL. Share groups of dogs. Track and train codes you can see. All of that is a fully functioning unit. The base, so you have a base unit. It's a magnetic base, and think of it like I kind of think of it like an iPad tablet, a 10-inch iPad tablet that magnets on that base. And so whenever it sticks on the base, it's on your device. It connects to your antennas, and your power source is on the base, the magnetic base. And so you hook up everything in your truck, and you hook it up to your external antenna. So like in my truck. And then the coolest thing about this is you can pull the screen off of that base.
Right.
And so I'm sitting here inside our podcast studio with my truck outside. I'm maybe, 10 yards away. I don't know, 8 yards away. Yeah. Within Bluetooth distance.
Through a wall.
And I am tracking my dogs sitting here on the couch inside, away from the truck. And so the cool thing is you got to be within Bluetooth range. So it's not going to work a super long distance. You're not going to take it inside your house way away from Bluetooth. But if you're outside listening to the dogs and you're like, oh, let me see what they're doing, you can just reach in your truck, grab the screen off, and go sit over by your hood and listen to the dogs and watch the screen on a big screen tracking. And it has about a 2-hour battery life. So it'll charge what's on the base, and then you pop it off and put it on there. So that's the biggest difference probably from the Alpha 300 is it connects wirelessly to the base, and that base has the antenna connection and the power and all that kind of stuff. So,
which is nice, because I found myself like I don't need a long range antenna very often, and it's usually more of a hassle. And I don't personally run quick connects. I usually just thread it on. So I got to the point where I just quit hooking it up.
Yep.
Where now it's like, well, there's no reason to not have it.
Yeah.
So I mean, the antenna's up there already, so you just hook it up. And I mean, I was getting really good range with it too. I know range is touchy and everybody's different, but I'm telling you, like, I was surprised I was keeping range. I forgot how far you really get with one of those long range antennas.
Yeah.
Because I just it wasn't worth my hassle. I'd just drive closer.
That benefit is going to be more than just once, right? There's so much about connecting and disconnecting your Alpha every time, threading and unthreading, and you loosen that nut.
Just wearing
that stuff out. Whereas once you connect this up, most of the time you leave it alone. Mm-hmm. And so that antenna, you're not connecting and deconnecting that antenna a ton and building oxidization in the connector and stuff like that. And so I haven't found any issues. Once I connect it up, it's and that's just nice because it's like, hey, that's a long range. I mean, it's automatic.
Yeah, it's already there.
It's not like, oh, I got to take this short antenna off my Alpha and mess with it. Some people have the dedicated unit, so they have a dedicated truck unit, which is hooked up to an antenna.
Which costs you $800 plus it's going to cost you another $400 for a drive track. So let's do the math, people.
You cannot do that no more.
You cannot do that and have something that you really want for the same money.
With a bigger screen. Much bigger screen.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. It'll be cheaper than a Tread XL with an Alpha, for sure. Long ways cheaper.
Oh, way cheaper.
So what? $1,500 plus $800 for an Alpha or Tread XL? What is that?
It's $1,100.
No, $1,500 plus $800.
Oh.
I don't even know what
that you're saving.
It's $2,300.
Yeah.
Okay, $1,100 savings.
My math's still right, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
We got different forms of ADD, man.
You care about how much they save. I was thinking how much you spend.
Our brains work like opposite.
Yeah. Like well, maybe I'll save $1,100.
That's it. I'm the sales guy. That's why I know it. I can do the savings real quick.
Yeah. As soon as I talk about it and I say $2,300, my wife's like,
nope,
done.
Well, we could do this for 12.
But when you tell it like that you can save $1,100. That's how you approach this with your wife.
That's why you pay me the big bucks.
I want to save you $1,100. Okay. So the features, I want to go over some of the features. The add contacts, just like the Alpha 300, like groups, all that, the same. Channel view, so you can scan and see the channel, see what colors are out there. Transmitting.
That's nice. I kind of expected it to be that way, but like now that my kids are hunting with me a little more, I've got their Alpha 100 programmed in. I got my handheld, I got my hunting partner, and I got the truck. And literally all four of us are connected at all times, which is really, really nice.
Yep. So mapping, you got your a ton of mapping options. So you have your regular built-in topo. You can download Bird's Eye and Outdoor Plus maps. And then you got your roads and your, turn-by-turn directions, stuff like that. If you want to go to fast food or McDonald's or wherever, you can plug in, hey, I need to go to a hotel or whatever. When I'm traveling or something like that, that's probably one of the things I do when I'm traveling. Even though I know where I'm going, I normally plug in the hotel I'm going to or whatever. And so like on a couple of my trips, I'd be like plug in my hotel and it gives me an ETA. So I'm like, okay, I got it.
So you got something to race.
Yeah.
I can beat that.
Exactly. Like, look, 2 hours? Yeah, right.
But like to add on to the mapping, and I don't want to make myself sound like an idiot here, but I'm pretty sure in Oregon it works. Yeah, thanks. It comes with land ownerships.
Yeah, Outdoor Plus does. Yeah. So if you pay for the Outdoor Plus mapping, which is $50.
Okay.
So customers would have to pay for that $50 subscription to get Outdoor Plus maps. You can it gives you access to download a pile of different map layers, and so you would click on the map. I gotta turn this ProView off. You click on the layers, and then when you want to, I'm sorry, I'm already messing up. So you want to go back and go to the main page and go. Map Manager. So you click on the Map Manager, and then when you click on Outdoor Plus Maps, you would download maps, and it would give you a bunch of different options to on which maps you want to download. And so you could have different layers. So there's like, and one of my critiques of the device, and I hope this changes, is that it has 17 layers of maps selected, and that chews up a lot of the memory. And when I look at it, like some of that stuff's like boat stuff, marine, maybe boat ramps. I'm exaggerating in some aspect, but there's just a bunch of little layers that are not really useful that we use. And I'm like, I want satellite images, I want I like the USGS quadra maps.
That's the one I was going to hit on.
So I like the quad maps because it's basically like the paper Forest Service maps
Yep.
and stuff. And so I've been liking those because that shows a lot of little skid trails and stuff
and springs and little stuff little things that you wouldn't have on the topo map.
Yep. So, and then landowner, that type of information is also good. I like that on there too. So those are the 3 layers that I really like to see when I'm doing a map.
I like the campground one because like where we were hunting, there was a lot of national forest ground and a couple of them, it's like we're going down this road and, we were in the snow. It's like, oh, it says there's a campground like just ahead when you're trying to figure out where the heck am I going to get this thing turned around kind of deal.
Right.
It's like, oh, we'll just bomb up here and give us a good spot. Now we know there's a good campground in the middle of some good hunting that we can access.
Yeah. Yeah. So there, and you can go through and select which ones. HMU hunt management units are kind of helpful. I'm going to be honest. I've for those types of maps, I've been using OnX, just because they're so much easier for me to manage, for like looking at game management and stuff like that. It's a little bit there, but I do download that into my units. But when I'm hunting with dogs, I don't worry about the hunt management units as much. It's mostly when I'm like elk hunting or deer hunting or traveling to hunt. I want to know where those boundaries are.
Right.
I know where they are in my areas when I'm using the dogs, so I'm not worried about that. But they have like hydro outdoor points of interest, which parcels, which are your private landowners. So I like to download that one. And then there's some stuff like PLSS. I don't know what that one is. Slope angle, slope aspect, public lands, U.S. Forest Service, 3D terrain.
That one's pretty. Have you messed with the 3D one yet?
I haven't messed with 3D. I'm a 2D guy.
So I'm telling you, like, the only reason I messed with it, I'm like, oh, well, let's see what this does. And it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. But one night we got on, I'm pretty sure my dogs were trashing. I'm not going to lie. The broke dog that chases skunks.
Yeah.
But, we were trying to get to a point where we could holler them out because they kept going back. It's like they knew they shouldn't be running, so they were not barking, but they were definitely trailing.
Yeah.
And we were able to like just whip around there, and I'm driving around. I'm like, whoa, stop right here. Because there was a finger ridge that came out, and I knew if we went any farther, they wouldn't hear us.
Yep.
But that 3D view, I was able to just be hauling down the road, and I'm like, right here. And buddy hollers out the window, and we started honking and getting dogs out.
See, that's where I could see it be really useful.
Your dogs are better.
No. I was saying, I'm
they're
better,
not.
Jason. I'm better. Not my dogs. My dogs.
Yeah, right.
No. I'm just a visual topographical user. When I look at a topographical map, that's 3D to me. Like I can look at a topo, and I've just spent my time in the woods. So when I look at that, I visualize that, and for whatever reason, I don't like the computer doing it for me. I don't know what it is, but I can see that if you're not that way, if you don't visualize it as easy, that would be a really helpful thing to.
Or you're doing 60.
Exactly.
That's where I ran into it.
You can see and go, oh, there's a little ridge here, there's a little ravine here, getting into it. So I just haven't. I've clicked on it, I've seen it, and it's just not been for me. But I can totally see that. I bet you some people would love it.
I would never use it on a handheld, but something this size because you are driving, and I don't want to wreck my truck.
I could see people who. I honestly could see people who have lived in the flatlands forever.
Oh, like where you don't have a topo line for 3 miles.
Exactly. What is a topo line? I can see where they're
What are all these roads rolling straight around this mountain?
Listen, fat boy, that's not the way to go. Okay. There's uphill and there's downhill. And then we ain't going straight to them on this one. We're going to find that little ridge line and take that.
We're going to walk that out.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I think that's going to be a cool feature.
Yeah.
I doubt I'll ever use it for me personally, and I'm not judging anybody, dude. Like if I look at that and I see the 3D already. So there's contours. There's different. One of the things that I've been trying to understand is contours and topographic, and they don't act right. Like, so I want to see, I'm hoping there'll be a change, but we'll see. I feel like the contour lines should be up on the top with the satellite, the U.S. quads, and the street maps, and they have them down in the map details basis.
Just where they're laid out in the menu. You're talking
where they're laid out. So I don't know if that's going to change. I know I've been trying to give some feedback because over here on the west where we got mountains and we use topos a lot, I'm like, that's a really important piece of information, you know. Like
that's the difference between a miserable hike and a really miserable
How close are those
hike?
Lines together? That's what I really want to know. Are they touching?
Don't use the 100K because they don't tell you about them little drop-offs,
100Ks don't touch. The 100Ks don't. We want the ones.
It's smooth sailing until you get there, and then, ooh.
Are the lines touching? That's what we want to know.
God. You're giving me flashbacks, man.
So I wish that would be my one, you know, my hope, I think, is that improves a little bit. But there's a topo on the bottom. There's contour lines on the bottom. I think some guys are going to have a little bit of issues getting topographics to show up in different settings. So,
right.
And like I said, there's always something. And so I don't know if they'll have that corrected by launch software. But yeah, like the contour lines is what you're looking for. What we would normally call topo is look at the contour lines, and that's what you want to make sure is turned on. So just before you call the shop and go, I can't get my topo to turn on, I'm just going to tell you right now, they're calling it contour lines is what you want to look for in the device when you get it. So that's, you know, a little rundown of Outdoor Plus maps. It's on the 300 as well. And actually they did an update on 300. I was really kind of disappointed at when I checked something, because on the 300 they made those 17 layers and they had all of them selected whenever I went to download maps.
Oh.
And so I was trying to select a little spot here by the house, and I was like,
why is this taking 12 hours?
Well, no, why is it going to be 1.3 gig for like a, you know, 1 mile little square by my house? Right. I was just trying to get satellite images on to help because after hours phone call that I shouldn't have been working on, but I was trying to fix, you know, take a look at a mapping issue for a guy. And anyways, so even on the 300, when you go download Outdoor Plus maps, what I'm telling you is on the 300 in the upper right corner, there's a little layer button. Click on that layer button and deselect the stuff you don't want. You know what I mean? Get the satellite images. Everybody wants that. Click on that. That's parcels. A pretty big download. And the USGS Quadra maps are a pretty big download. Those are pretty, you know, those are not small files because they're photos that they're downloading. And then if you want the campgrounds, or, you know, I mean, whatever else you want in there, make sure you get that stuff. I always like, you know, there's 3 of my parcel units. And so that's the Outdoor Plus. Like I said, that's the long and short of it. So once you get that downloaded, it's pretty easy to turn on and off satellite images. You can show the quad maps on here, the street maps. Yeah, I like it.
And it's easy. It's not like on the 300s where it just gives you the file name of the map, which I liked on this one. Like, it's a big display. Like, it gives the name. You're not selecting something real small while you're driving down the road. Of course, I should say you're not supposed to operate this while driving a vehicle. Safety disclaimer. But if you're driving down the road, it's easy to touch these versus hunting and trying to select each individual one. They're a bigger icon size.
Yeah. Yeah, you can set the icons, the truck, you know, are you hauling a big truck, a 4-wheel drive truck, whatever.
Yeah, your vehicle profile is pretty slick when it comes to, like, well, again, I guess it's different for us out here. There's a lot of skid roads, logging roads, things like that, old roads that have been grown over or whatever.
Yeah.
But it'll tell me, hey, you should turn this full-size truck around and not go down this road.
Yeah. Yeah, I got some thoughts about that. That would be a disappointment on, and it's not just this product, but any Garmin navigation off-road is lacking. Meaning I get their concept where they're like, oh, you need a 4-wheel drive to do this, But I can show you so many situations where it's routing me the wrong way over this mountaintop. Like I can take a blacktop road.
When there's a fire road or something.
Yeah, there's a blacktop road. I can show you a spot where there's a blacktop road that was closed because of a fire 3 years ago, and they're routing you up through 4 feet of snow to get through a plowed road. You could just drive the plowed road. You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, I get it that they want to have the 4-wheel drive, high clearance vehicle selections, but when I'm selecting that, and just don't call me or us when
you're stuck in the
when
snow.
You're not satisfied with the way the device routes you. I think there's just a lot to be desired for off-road routing. For us out here on the West, it's not useful. Anyways, enough to be said. That's probably that's a
whole nother podcast.
I don't know how to fix that one. Like that's such a complex problem for Garmin. They do a really good job telling you where the McDonald's is or the hotel is. That's right. Such an intense problem for all the different ways. But then you get to like Forest Service roads, and I was trying to explain this to them. I was like, well, Forest Service roads, like there's a road up there now that closes December 15th, and it's a groomed snowmobile trail until April 15th. So, like, you know what I mean? Like Garmin can't get down to that granality to be like, oh, right, this road is drivable April 16th, but it's closed December 15th.
Because it becomes a trail.
Yeah, it's a snowmobile trail. So it's illegal to operate a motor vehicle on that. And there's just tons of roads, and every single road, and this road, and the 26 road, the 2770 road is, all these different little things that you'd have to go to the Forest Service website and go look up their MUV, whatever, papers to figure out which ones are legal to drive on, whatever. So I just look at that and I go, that is such a complex problem that I don't even want to worry about it. So I don't want to dig into that, but that's my 2 cents about that. Is you're talking about, high clearance and telling you to turn around. Almost in many situations, this device has told me I've been on a closed road, and I know 100% for a fact that it wasn't a closed road. It was closed because of a fire 5 years ago. Oh. And so nothing got updated. And so the device is telling me it's a closed road. And I'm like, yeah, no. It's like, but it's like, turn around. I'm like, no, I'm not turning around.
Stop yelling at me.
Yeah. So that was, yeah. So long story short, I would not rely on this for navigation outside of city limits. You know what I mean? Like that's where the navigation for me is useful. It's useful to get to my hotel off the interstate.
It got me here. Yeah. It's been a while. I almost forgot where the shop was.
So, anyways, let's get back to it. But maps, pinch to zoom, grab the screen, rotate around. Road overlays, the color coding you can set for different tracks and stuff like that. Showing the dogs on there, showing where your tracks were. A lot of memory. It just shows tracks forever. Wireless updates.
The rotate map is pretty cool too.
Oh, being able to rotate around.
Yes, I found that really handy. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially, I know you say you don't use the 3D view a lot, but if you can actually rotate the screen, which is really handy. Yep. All that stuff you didn't know you needed until you got it at your fingertips.
So think about all the features that the Alpha 300 comes. That's what it's going to come with. So let's talk about installation, because the big thing about these is number one, it's a big screen. Yeah. So if you haven't put a Tread XL in your truck, you're not going to realize how big it is at first. And although you'd learn to love it, honestly, once you get used to it, you're like, wow, how do you go back? Yeah. There's 3 topics that I want to really touch on. One is mounting the device, right? So what comes in the box from Garmin is a short window mount, suction cup window mount, which is it works pretty dang good.
It's pretty tough.
Is that what you're running?
I think the only change I made was I put a short arm on it instead of the.
It came with a short arm.
Oh, well then, yeah, it was factory then. Okay. So I didn't do anything. I was able to position it. I still set it so that it's like right on top of the dash, so it's not bouncing around a lot. Yeah. But the magnet sure never turned loose. You know, I was just worried about the weight on that suction cup, but it hasn't came loose on me at all. Yeah,
the suction cup that they're using is pretty good.
Yeah.
I will say, for throwing in your windshield and going, getting up and running, that was good. I don't like that big ass device in my windshield because it blocks my view. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's things out in that corner in that passenger front wheel that I don't want to hit, you know, sometimes. And so I'm
my dog.
What's the dog name again? You bring that up and run over your dog?
No, to me, that was my biggest concern because the tread, I'll be honest, I didn't know you could turn the tread so it was portrait versus landscape.
I don't know if you can or not on the tread.
Well, you can because I found out after I gave it back to you and I'm like, no, this thing's too big. I don't want it on here. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when I'm roading a dog, every inch of windshield space is important. And luckily, I was able to get this to where it doesn't, even though it's the same size. I was able to position it on the dash and get it down enough.
Yeah.
Okay. But
yeah. So that's one of my things is when I threw it on my dash, especially my Ranger, I was like, man, it's a small truck already. And I was like, dude, I feel like it's
you're driving a Tesla.
Screen. Yeah.
It's big.
Like a cockpit of an F-16 or something. I'm like, man. And I just like to see, roading my dogs or whatever. So my thing was I did a longer arm and I extended my head unit down so that it's halfway below my dash and only half of it's above the dash. So that the arm rests on my dash currently, and
it just sets it down a little.
It sets it down so that it kind of covers my screen, my front screen. And it's on a little bit of a twist, so I can just twist it out of the way and change my screen if I want to set my radio.
Oh, you're talking about like your vehicle
my vehicle navigation. So like changing the radio or something if I want to change the Bluetooth. So sometimes it's in the way for that, and I can just push it away. So there's two things we did. We ordered on these.
That's
One
handy.
is a cup holder mount. So it's a ball that's mounted to a cup holder clamp, and that's what this is for. We got them on our website. They're offered, but it can go in your cup holder, and that way it sets the device down in your center console. And then the other
is that
one,
adjustable? Is that what the screw is?
Yeah, it gets tight. So when it's hard to explain what it is, but it fits in your cup holder, and there's a knob you twist, and it grows, and so it'll fill that cup holder and clamp it in there so that it's clamped in your cup holder.
It's not just gravity held in there; it's clamped in.
Yep. And so we got these. We brought these in because I think that's going to be a simple, easy, quick fix for people to get something low, out of there. If they don't want it in their windshield, this puts it down below. You can put this on there, and you have one of our arms, and the device can be out there or for the passenger or whatever.
Right.
The other mount that we brought in that I think will be helpful, and this is what I just installed today in my Ranger, is it uses the passenger seat bolting. So where that
like a seat bracket.
Yep, where that seat bolts down, there's a 3/8 bolt or something in most of those seats. You unthread that one bolt that's tied, on the passenger side,
seat track,
right next to the console. Take that off, and then we have a little bracket that you thread on, and it has an arm that comes up. And the arm is maybe 30 inches or 24 inches or something. It's adjustable. It has a different elbow. Mm-hmm. And so you can kind of bend it and get it the spot you want. And I'm going to run that for a little while. I think that might be the option that I like. One of the things is if I'm hunting by myself, I can stick it over in the passenger side, what I mean? And leave a little space for Sadie because Sadie likes to muddy up that passenger seat for me. She gets all the mud holes and then comes in. But I figure, if I don't have a passenger seat, I can kind of get some space there and get to my coffee.
Look like a cop.
It's totally look like a cop when I come in there and be like, let me see what the devil is doing here. You gotta puff your chest out.
Right. Click.
You gotta have that attitude too. You know what I mean? Like, You know what I mean? Like you got to posture your chest out a little bit and just like kind of
Let's see what's happening.
Let's see what's going on here. Okay.
There's no hiding now.
Yeah.
You don't even have to pick up your unit to shock them anymore. You just look at that screen and hit the button.
I mean, it's all just like you're hacking shit. You know? No. So I think I'm going to enjoy that. You know, you tuck it in if there's a passenger seat, whatever. So those are two things. The mounting side, I think guys are going to have to think about what's going to work for them. You know, meaning, you know, Toyota, you know, big truck, full truck. We got cup holder mount. I know in my Super Duty, I mounted a disc, a metal disc that we sell. Those metal discs. I double-sided taped and took 2 screws and mounted that on my dash right down below in my Super Duty. Kind of down below the cup holder, right in front of the cup holder. I had a little space there on the right side of my center console, you know, like right below my radio on the right side, nice and low before it gets to the cup holders. And I mounted that metallic, you know, 4-inch disc. And then I have magnet mounts with the balls on them. And that's where I would run my device. And I magnetized it off of my dash. Inside the box, there will be a dash mount. So if a guy wanted to take the 4 drills or 5, whatever that Garmin's going to come with, and you can drill that to your dash. I didn't want to drill the mount to them, but I wanted the magnet, you know, so I could take it off.
You can multi-purpose it.
Yeah, so I can use it as a cell. I can switch it over to a cell phone mount or whatever.
That makes sense.
And so
you're talking just the galvanized discs that we sell?
Yep, just the galvanized disc. And so that way, we have the ones with a magnet, like a 3-inch magnet that holds really strong. And we've got the ball on that magnet. So now you got a ball mounted to a different magnet.
Gotcha.
The issue with that I got to work on is a lot of times the ball wants to rotate. And so
the whole thing will pelt.
The whole thing will want to pelt. So I was actually, I couldn't sleep last night. I don't know why. Or this morning, like 1:30 to 4. And I would
have came over and helped you.
I was thinking, I was like, okay, you know, red Loctite didn't quite hold it as good, but I was going to try like JB Weld and see if I could get something like JB Weld to lock those threads so that ball doesn't twist when it mounts to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
red Loctite didn't hold it, huh?
It might have. I don't know if I might not even tried red Loctite. I probably tried.
Use that. What is it? Like the gel super glue stuff.
Yeah, I want something that basically welds those threads so that when I mount that ball to that magnet,
the JB's the only way to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna. So I want it basically that, you know, I got the magnet and it's got a 1/4 screw on it, and I have the little ball, you know, the little rubber ball that goes to all these different mounts.
Heavy duty mounts.
Yep. And so when you thread that ball on, what happens is you know, if you have any kind of leverage on it, it wants to come off. So I want that ball to be welded to that magnet. And so anyway,
just cross thread it. It's better than Loctite.
I thought about that too. Like, yeah.
Cross thread's better than Loctite, man.
Yeah, just give it to Bradley. He'll screw it up, man. That boy likes to over tighten shit. He likes red Loctite. It don't matter what we're working on. He's working on a truck.
That's a kid thing. My dad used to flick me crap for that in the shop too. He's like, he'd always call me the gorilla. He's like, you know, it don't have to be that tight, right? Because then you get everything goes good until it starts getting loose again. Mm-hmm. That's when your problems start.
Yeah. So anyways, that kind of covers the mounts. Like there's the window mounts. We got arms and different suction cup mount styles, large ones. So if you're comfortable putting in the windshield, we've got mounts for you. We can get that covered. If you want to get it to a dash mount or get it below, you know, we got longer arms. Cup holder mounts. We got these new cup holder mounts that clamp in and are nice and tight.
Those are cool.
And we also are bringing in seat mounts so you can mount off the passenger seat and have an arm that kind of comes up from there. And lastly, these magnetic mounts, you know what I mean? Like, let me figure out how to get the ball to stop spinning on mine. But that has been a really excellent mount for me for a long time. Like, because you can work good.
I mean, you did a good job explaining it. But with that metal disc, if you've got your pivot ball there, you can unscrew the mount the factory mount or a heavy duty mount, pop it off of there, and like you said, put your cell phone connector or whatever on that same magnetic piece.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I can put anything
I didn't even think of that.
So that's what I
that might have been why there was one in the box you sent me, huh?
Yeah, I did.
I'm like, what the heck is this? What am I going to do with this? Disc? Drill holes in your buddy's dash? Like, I'm not drilling holes in this thing.
Yeah. So that's the mounts. You know, basically what I want people to think about is it's going to be your system, not this works for everybody. You know, everybody's going to have a little bit different. They're going to like a little different. And so just think about that when you're placing your order is if you have an idea in your head, you know what I mean? You're going to have to scratch your head a little bit and figure out what works.
But once you get it, it's there. Because I will say, like, the handhelds and stuff on the spine mounts and all that, like, you always had to play like this with it being magnetic. You get it set once, you just flop it up there. And I'm telling you, you get it close. You don't have to have it lined up. You get it close, this thing will suck out of your hand and just thud right on there.
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed with the magnetic ability of it. Because I thought it'd just be flopping off of there.
Yeah. So the next thing we'll talk about is power, right? So it comes with a 12-volt
cigarette lighter
style, right? And so that's pretty simple. Plug it into your cigarette lighter and plug it into the base. It doesn't go into the head unit. It goes to the base.
Yeah, no power hooks up to the actual unit itself.
Unless you wanted a USB-C.
Right, you can hook it up.
Yeah, you can use USB-C to keep it powered on off the base, but for the most part the base charges it, everything happens there. What I don't like about the 12-volt light and what guys need to realize is if you're out hunting and you turn your truck off, so you're sitting out there listening to dogs or whatever, my trucks turn off that 12-volt.
You're like a keyed 12-volt with a delay shut off.
Yeah, right? So it'll stay on for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't know what it is. And then all of a sudden it shuts off. Poop. And when it shuts off, the base just lost power, right? So if that 12-volt light or that 12-volt power source gets turned off either by the key or by a timer, so like in my Ford, it'll stay on for a little while. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not tracking.
Quit tracking, yeah.
And you don't first notice it. It's not like it says lost, base lost power. It doesn't tell you that. Maybe they will eventually, but it just, there's a little icon in the top, in the very top, that yours probably has a red, right? If you look at yours, because it's probably disconnected to your base. But it says calm, and there's a little red.
Yep. Like signal icon with a line through it.
And so that'll be green when you're connected to the base.
Right.
But so if you don't notice it, but that'll turn red. And so what was happening was I'd lose my dogs. I'm like fiddling around, like, why can't I track my dogs? Well,
no power to the
base. Fire my truck up or turn the key on or whatever.
Picks it
base
right
kicks up, everything links up, and like I just turned mine on. I'm back to comms, right? So So what I did, and what I was hopeful that was going to be in the box, was a direct wire power source. So I don't use that 12-volt connection anymore because I just had some, it was just a hassle.
Right.
And so I run a 12-volt direct wire power source. And so I have 12 volts run up to my dash on both of my trucks. As soon as I get them, I start tearing stuff apart and I run power up there.
We're voiding the warranty day one.
There was a time whenever I bought my first 14 and I'm up there drilling holes in the cab, trying to put cab lights on it.
Oh my God.
On day one.
No.
One and wires under my head, my headliner. Oh, it was, anyways. So I'll normally run power to my dash, so I'll run my antenna lines and I'll run power. And so I have power up underneath my dash on both my Ranger and Super Duty. I ran USB ports up there. And so I just tie into that power source on mine. And so that, number one, I can always have power, so that the device is always powered. One thing I will tell you, if you're going to do that, I strongly, I would consider you to put a switch in. If you don't have it switched, you really might want to
for battery drainage,
because it can, I mean, it doesn't drain it in a hunt. It's not like you're going to, come back from a hunt that your truck won't start. But I can tell you after, if I drive my Super Duty and leave my Ranger parked for a week, I come back if I haven't disconnected that power source, and I'll normally get the text from my phone because I got that smart text. It's like disabling remote features, and I'm like,
we live on different planets, man. So it cracks me up.
My truck will text me that's like, hey, I don't feel very good. I'm turning off my remote start.
I drive a Dodge, so you don't want them telling you every time they don't feel good.
It just be the whole time. It's be
like bing, 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 bing.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'll get that text, and normally when I pull home from work, I just go in there and start my Ranger, just let it run. It runs for 20 minutes.
It's okay,
turns
baby.
Off.
We didn't forget you.
Yeah, we're still here. You want a little juice? And sip off your alternator for you for a little bit and take a little sippy sip. So I just wire switch so that I can just flip it off. You do got to remember to flip the switch off. I still don't remember to flip the switch off. But
I did that the other day because I got my radio hooked up to a cigarette lighter plug, and I went out to start the truck. I'm like, I jumped in and I hear the scanner go off. I'm like, oh crap! It's been like 3 days.
Yeah,
I guarantee this truck ain't gonna start.
Yeah,
and mine didn't text me, so I mean,
well, the radio, the VHF radio kills it too. So it's not just the Garmin device. I got a VHF radio in there, so if I leave that going. So anyways,
so direct wire. I mean, really, because I will say,
huge.
Mine kept doing that too, and I couldn't figure it out because I knew it was a keyed 12 volts, I guess.
Yeah.
But at first, I didn't realize you had to have power to the base to keep service, because that is where all of it's coming from. Your antenna connection, everything's through that base.
Yep. And I will tell you, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh yeah, I want a direct wire,
it is not the same direct wire
as a Tread XL.
No. So don't get
the Tread XL wire. It comes from a different line. And anyways, if that's really, really important to you right out the gate, you need to call
we have them in
Supply.
stock.
We're not going to list them. Like, they're not going to be because we will sell out. Like, we don't have a ton of them. We don't have a lot of them. And if we put them up for sale, they will sell out. So
guaranteed.
We're going to just make sure that our customers get them first. And that's what they're there for, because that's my favorite feature. That's my favorite accessory from the very beginning. As soon as I got that, I was like complaining about the 12 volt. And so I figured out what the right power cord is for it, and direct wire, and I actually bought one for both of my trucks because I was like, it's that important to me. I don't know I think they're like $60 or something like that. But if that's important and you want one right away, make sure you give us a call, because we don't have very many of them, so we will run out. And I wouldn't pretend to guess when Garmin will have them. I don't have a ship date for my remaining order because I want to order another 100 of them, right? I want a pile of them, and I don't have a ship date. So I don't know if that's going to be 4 weeks.
Well, because they got to get it
3
in
months.
line, and they've got other products and other stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so I just don't know.
You don't know when they're coming.
I don't know when that's an accessory. You know what I mean? So that's a whole different. I don't expect Garmin to like overnight ship accessories because they run out of stock. They're probably going to be like, it's an accessory, no biggie. So I don't know, but we'll see when those become available. My guess is they'll be a little more popular than Garmin probably thinks, and so we'll see. But power and that device, like that's something you want to consider. Cigarette lighter. A lot of these Toyotas and all that, as soon as you turn the truck off, you lose your power to
open the door.
Exactly. Whatever it is that kills that power source. So if that 12 volt power source is there, and I'm a guy that, man, I'd probably cut the wires on that thing and rewire it if I had to. You know what I mean? Like, you can. Right. There's ways of getting that power source to be more consistent. If
they
really
also void your warranty though. So.
Just Toyota. I don't care.
This won't void your warranty, people. Just buy the cord.
Don't listen to me.
Don't listen to Buddy.
So, the last thing, I had two things. I guess we can talk about antennas. Every antenna that works, it's the same SMA connector. It's going to come with that little curly Q Garmin magnet mount antenna, which we haven't been excited about. Throw behind your seat in your truck. It's a good backup to have. You know what I mean? If you ever,
but in theory, you could even hook up like a long range. Like I carry the 14-inch flexibles. Yep. If you were in a situation and didn't want one outside your vehicle, or you're in a buggy, like a side by side, you could rig up just a regular antenna.
Any antenna that fits on the Garmin Alpha will fit on these devices. Mm-hmm. So we have a whole line of antennas, truck antennas that will get you good range. What you have on your truck already is going to work just fine. You don't feel like you have to buy a new antenna. Garmin's going to send you with a small antenna that, normally gets knocked off by the brush, or there's a bunch of issues.
They're horrible
with those antennas.
I'll say it.
Yeah.
They're garbage in my opinion. But.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to be nice, but
I don't have to be. I'm nice all the time. I'm going to tell you that antenna ain't
I'm normally not. My whole thing was, man, I wish they wouldn't put that antenna in there because nobody's going to use that, and they would put a direct wire in there. I was like, man, I wish they would have spent more money on that. That would have been my choice, is to be like, hey, I understand you want to spend money. They probably feel like they need to make a kit that tracks out of the box.
So somebody can buy it out of the box, because honestly, out of the box, it's ready. You can make it work.
So the Cabela's shopper, that shows up to Cabela's and buys this $1,200 system and then comes home and is
I need a freaking antenna.
What do you mean I need an antenna? So I can see why they do it. Like I do. For our user base and probably 90% of the guys that are going to use these Tread XLs, or I'm sorry, Alpha XLs, they already got an antenna. I told them, I was like, man, we're going to use our antennas probably over anything that Garmin has out right now for antennas. So I wouldn't stress about it. But I do see that, they sell something at Cabela's and it's got to be a kit.
Yeah.
The last thing before we wrap this up is the base. So I haven't gotten one yet because I don't have two bases. We should have tried this whenever you were here, but we don't want to mess something up. But you should be able to order a second base for $29 or $299.99, so $300 for the second base, and then you can have because
you're pulling from one truck to another.
Exactly. If you have a side by side, or you have a hunting truck, or two different rigs that maybe hunt out of side by side, and then a thing. And again, I'm not here to sell you on it, but for $300,
$299.99, I'm sure.
$299.99. The cost of a Tread XL, you could have.
Yeah, you could have two vehicles,
two bases, and so at the same price of a Tread XL, for $1,500, you could have two bases, and then you can easily take this device and go between one truck to the next truck. I imagine it's going to go through a little pairing sequence when it hooks up there, and it's going to have to pair.
Sure.
I don't. I'm thinking. I'm like, man, I'll find out if it's going to have a little bugs, some software bugs or something like that in the different pairing setup. Sometimes, some of those things, there may be a few things that take a little bit of time to get worked out. All the problems, because those deep use situations are not tested as thoroughly as I would like sometimes. But yeah, you can have two bases, and I haven't tried this, but you can have two bases, and you can move this head between two different trucks,
and it's easy as grabbing it, pulling it off, walking over, and it sucks right back on.
And I assume that it's going to go through a pairing process, because it can only be paired to one base at a time.
Right.
So once it pairs to this truck head, it should disconnect from that truck head. So if you had two trucks up hunting at the same time, it's not going to pull from both trucks. You're going to have to go through this. I'm assuming.
Right.
Like I said, I don't want to. I will know soon enough, because I have one on order. They're not. Once they start shipping these, I will have a spare base, because I want to put a base in my Super Duty. The biggest thing for me is I come to work sometimes and I'm like, depending on what truck I drive, I've been taking this with me, and it would be just nice just to grab the head and throw it on there. So, additional bases for Alpha XL. I think that wraps us up, Jason. I think we've pretty much covered everything that I want to cover with the Alpha XL. I'm excited. it has worked. I don't want to say flawlessly because nothing ever works flawlessly, but it has been
better than normal,
better than I've was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I really was tracking dogs. I've never really had a situation where I've lost dogs. I've had situations where, again, were power to the base issues. So once I fixed that direct wire, I started having a lot better issues. So just telling you on the tech support side, whenever you get calls, power to the base is going to probably be the number one reason we get calls on this stuff right now.
Sure.
And, you know, I don't think everybody's going to listen to this podcast, which
They should.
They should. Everybody should.
Everybody should listen to this podcast.
Should. Put you to sleep too. But power to the base, help guys out on that whenever they have issues like that, making sure that their cigarette lighter or 12 volt, whatever you call it.
Power port.
I like cigarette lighter, man. I'm just going to call it
always
cigarette
call
lighter.
it a cigarette lighter.
Yeah. Your cigarette lighter turns off and then you lose power to the base.
We got customers that don't know what that is. We're of the age now.
Yeah.
It's the thing that makes your thumb look funny when you touch it when it's red.
Yes. So, I think that covers it, man. I think that's the Alpha XL for $1,200. I'm sure that's not as cheap as some people would like, but it was better than I expected.
See, and I thought price point, well, like we were saying, if you buy an Alpha 300 and you buy a drive
I thought there was
track,
no way they were going to be cheaper than a tread.
No, I didn't think so either.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're right at the same price point as buying a drive track in a handheld, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are, it seems like when we get new Garmin stuff, I always get those guys on the phone. Oh, well, it's more than I'm going to need. It's overkill. It's this, it's that. And it's intimidating. And if anybody in this world knows I'm not a real technological person, I just use this stuff a lot, is Buddy. And I can tell you, like, the big surprise to me was being able to take this thing out first time, zero instruction, and get everything paired in, use it to train dogs, use it to track dogs, and never have a problem. The layout and the operation of the menus is really, really easy to follow.
Yeah. So the menus I would, and I hope they get a little bit better on. There's a lot of icons that I didn't quite understand a lot of times when you're looking at different things like dogs and things like that when you go to the dog list or so there was times where I looked at it and go and it seems like maybe I'd have to go back and look, but like groups, you know, where the groups are, there was just some times that how do I want to say it? It felt like the engineers wanted to use pictures as much as possible. And I'm like, use some words.
Tell me what it is.
Use some words. You know what I mean? Like they were trying to make everything a picture. You know what I mean? So, and it seems like it's gotten better. But the one I can think of right now that I'm looking at is like groups, right? Okay. So it shows my dog. If you go to a dog, do you got your dogs in a group?
No, mine are ungrouped.
Okay, so see, you're not organized. But when I have all my dogs grouped, I have this icon for groups, and it's very clear that I can see that Shy is in my T25 groups, right? Now, that's not to say that on this device, I see Shy, and then I see T25 right below that. But the problem is I thought when I was looking at that, I thought that meant that Shy was a TT25, right? So I thought it was Garmin telling me it was a TT25.
Right.
What it was telling me was that's your TT25 group. The name, you know, your group name T25. Group. So if I named my device Buddy's TT25, it would say Buddy's TT20. You know what I mean? So like, I almost wish that T25 was over in the groups icon because then I would know groups TT25. You know what I mean? That's my group. So little things like that. So I'm just being super nitpicky. But there's just times where I'm looking at things like resetting a track. You know what I mean?
That was what I was actually going to bring up. Because you had to tell me how to do that, and I have forgotten it since. But I know that one.
You remember
was
how?
Buried. No, so I could go back and look at my text message.
Yeah, so there's no like reset tracks.
There's no like start. Well, I mean, there is a new hunt.
Yeah, but if you had to just reset one dog track, it's not real easy. So you got to go to the dog page. So go to a dog page.
Yep.
And then on the right hand side, you'll see your information button, and then you see your map button, right? Do you see the map? Do you see the dog on the map?
Oh, I was looking at the dog page. Yep. So I'm looking at the map.
Okay. Now, do you see that little circle button on the top left?
I don't, but I don't have this connected to power either. That might be part of it.
No, you're in the regular map. You need to go to your dog. Go to your dog page. So Pro View, okay. Let's look at rows.
Oh.
So here, right here.
Gotcha.
See that little circle icon up there?
Yep.
What does that mean to you?
Go back.
That's what it means to me.
I know it doesn't, but that's what it means to me.
Reset maps. So it's a half a circle, which to us means go back. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, back up. But that's the actual clear tracks button. And so it's like I'm like, there's 10 inches of screen here, guys. Why don't you just say reset track?
Right.
And that way I would know,
picture.
Let's reset track. But they show this circle that is like...
It's pretty bad when I can't even read pictures.
Counterclockwise. I didn't know. It's a counterclockwise circle with an arrow. And I'm like, I don't know how you come up with that means clear tracks. But that's how you clear the tracks on it. And so... again, maybe this changes with a software update. You know what I mean? I'm hopeful it does, because this is some of the feedback that I've run into where it's like, I know how to run an Alpha 300 pretty good. There's times where I run into this where I'm like, I know it's here somewhere, but I can't figure out what picture I got to push.
Right.
And so sometimes I'm like, just a few less pictures, man. Just a reset track button would be awesome. You know what I mean? I got on the side, I got distance traveled, I got average speed, I got the time. I'm like, you can make a little space there and put a reset track.
Reset, yeah.
Like there's plenty of space on this screen to not feel like we have to do it with the pictures all that. So that's a I anticipate that to maybe get better. Maybe it won't. But I anticipate several calls for people trying to figure out how to clear a track. You know what I mean? And so little things like that it's like, yeah, it does everything we need it to do, but sometimes finding that screen to find the right button to push is a little challenging. So with that said, don't let that not stop you from buying one of
It's
these.
super awesome.
I haven't used my Alpha 300 hardly, except for walking to a tree.
Walking to a tree. Yeah, exactly. Because you can do it all, and it's fast. I mean, for me, I get, like I said, I mean, I use this stuff. Mm-hmm. But being able to sit there, like I had to reset everything because I updated it and I had to do some stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to program dogs back in. Boom, 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 boom. You feel like a cop sitting there just done. I mean, and it's like not like I've done it 100 times either. I programmed them all in and then I had to reprogram, but it's so easy.
And I don't know if we'll have it set up by the launch, but we're working on getting some type of little bit of financing setups for people to use a firm, which will allow them to pay over several payments or maybe 6 months or whatever. We got to do a little bit of fine tweaking on that because those companies are charging us way too much money to offer that. And so we probably will have a little separate website checkout so that somebody wanted to try to finance one of these, we want to be able to give that option. It might just cost an extra, 5%, 4% on the cost for us to recover some of the fees that these companies are charging us to offer this. So it may not be for everybody, but we do want to let you know that I know $1,200 is getting pretty steep. And so if it helps, let us know if that would be something you're interested in. And we should hopefully, the goal was to launch it with this product, but I don't know if we'll be ready. But maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we are working on getting some financing options so that these can be made over payment terms and stuff like that for people. That's like, oh, maybe there. So, anyways, I think we wrap this up. How much time we got? We got an hour 12.
Oh, right. Probably pretty close.
Yeah, Alpha XL.
Buy one. It's worth
July or January 21st, and yeah, and like I said, if you want the direct wire, you gotta probably call us. Call us to get that on order. You can put it on the order. We'll probably have a back order line, and if you didn't buy your system from us, we're not going to ship it. But if you did buy your Alpha XL from us, we will go ahead and probably make sure you get one of those few that we have. We don't have very many of them, but the very first couple people that buy one, we're going to make sure that if they want one, they get one first. So, and then once we get good inventory supply, we'll be able to ship all the rest of them out. But I don't know if that's going to be a month or 2 or 3 months. Yeah, it could be 4 or 5 months. I don't
Whenever
know.
They get them.
I'm guessing it won't be 5 months, but I could realistically see 2 to 3 months in some of the stuff that I've seen before. So let's wrap this up.